have demanded 1 billion naira for their release. Let's take a moment and take that figure in. You see, beyond the fact is the audacity that trips me a lot. The audacity of a criminal to actually dictate. And why would their audacity be that loud? Is because they have been given room to believe that, there's nothing that can be done to them. Now, the school children and other older students there and members of staff that were taking, I think, on the 7th, on the 7th of March in Kuriga, in northwest Kaduna State, was the first mass kidnapping in the country since 2021.
Exactly.
Right? Now, they made a total of 1 billion naira ransom demand for all the students and staff of the school. Now, they gave an ultimatum to pay the ransom within 20 days, effective from the date of kidnap. So they have till the 27th of March to pay that money. They said they will kill all the students and the staff if the ransom demand is not met. Now, Idris Ibrahim, who is an elected official from Kuriga Ward Municipal Council, confirmed the ransom demand, and these were his words. Yes, the kidnappers called the community through Jibril Aminu's number and made the demand. They called from a hidden number, but the authorities are working on getting the number. He added that the security forces were taking adequate measures to secure the release of these children. Now, the spokesperson for the president and the army did not respond to requests for comments, and we're going to talk about that and possible reasons why they wouldn't update the Nigerian people on what they are doing on their own end. Now, he said the president has directed that the security agencies must, as a matter of urgency, ensure that the children and all those that have been kidnapped are brought back to safely to the country, and also in the process ensure that not a dime is paid for ransom. Your thoughts?
I think clear as a statesman and from the Nigerian state, that is the best statement that could ever come from the president. No need for anybody to pay ransom. But that is one side. The other aspect is this: what about the family? Because one thing we should understand about these kidnappers is this: they are working psychologically on the parent of the children. Now, get how they got in contact with the people in the village. They called through a particular number, and that person relates the information to them. How did they get the person number?
I mean, it could be from any of the staff.
They
kidnapped them
and they asked him to give them the number. Now, government is not paying ransom. Kaduna State government has said
government says they are not paying ransom.
Federal government says that. Now, the kidnappers will put pressure through that same phone number on the parent. Psychologically, as we are speaking right now, there will be an underground contribution by the villagers towards that, because it happens when these Kaduna rail victim too, when they were kidnapped. It happened severally. The moment government declared that they are not going to pay, the family will be put pressure, and somebody will be doing is it crowdfunding or whatever, yes. They'll begin to do it. But the question still remains that with all this that is happening, this is almost like a week now, because it was last week Thursday it happened. Any clue? Although I understand why the government doesn't want to speak to the press on this issue, because they are also being very, very sensitive, because most of the things we are even discussing, as government is saying they are not paying ransom, don't be surprised that in 2 days time the kidnappers will come with another statement that said we are reducing it to 10 days. Since government want to be adamant, they don't want to pay. You get it? It was the same kidnapper that said they want 1 trillion. I'll be worth about, now they are reduced to 1 billion. They also said they want 40 Elos vehicle, how many machine and the rest of them. But what I'm trying to point out is this: in as much as government have said they are not going to pay, whatever action that government wants to take, it must take it drastically, and it must not spare the kidnappers. That is just my own message. But for the families, they will be psychologically depressed.
How can we trust that the government is actually going to take the right measures to and not pay the ransom, considering that the last time that something like that happened, we saw that the government actually did. I mean, we heard rumors that ransoms were paid. The family of Naziba, the one that was
that one was crowdfunding now.
No, besides the crowd, but I mean, the government said nothing was going to. The military came out and said, "Oh, we've rescued them." That was what the military said. But the members of the family said, "Well, we paid."
And because they gave the money to the negotiator. That's what they did. They gave the money to the negotiator to go and drop. And when they were about to drop the children, they dropped the children where they can find them. Then the military came and picked them. But what we are trying to point out, on the perspective of the government, they are not going to give anybody money. But as I said earlier, the family will be under pressure to raise the money, and somebody will be out there in that community raising the high tension in that place. That let us do this, because that is how it happens. You get it, and they will contribute the money.
What then should Nigerians do when their loved ones are being taken? Because in the first place, they shouldn't even be taken.
That's the ideal thing to do. Get the money to them and give them. But what the money normally encourages that, distance from now, they will come back again.
I don't think it's even the ideal thing to do. The ideal thing to do is to be safe in the first place. The ideal thing to do is not to negotiate with terrorists or criminals. That is the ideal thing to do. You cannot encourage this as a trade, because now, look at it. Kidnapping has become it's beyond a trend. It's like the hottest business now in town.
Definitely.
They are so brazen to ask for 1 billion naira.
And would they get it? I doubt if they can get that kind of money. Even the community cannot raise such money.
It's the fact that they have the audacity to ask for it in the first place.
But
why are children, and this is the question I believe that Nigerians should be asking, why are children not safe enough to go to school? Why is it that teachers are not safe enough to be? There was a time in Nigeria between 2009 to 2021. The question was, why are we not safe enough to go without being worried about losing our lives?
Definitely.
Now the question is, why are we not safe enough to go without being kidnapped?
Because the responsibility that lies with the government is not being taken care of as expected. Ask us, how many security personnel do we have? More than half of them is taking care of the VIPs. You get it? More than half of them is taking care of the VIP. So why should it be so? Why should a VIP have close to 8-10 policemen following him up and down? Meanwhile, a community that is isolated because of the terrain, they don't have police posts, they don't have military checkpoints, they don't have anything to guide them. Meanwhile, we have junk of policemen following VIP, including private citizens who also pay money to have them.
VIPs, you're the one that said they are VIPs.
Yes, now they call themselves VIP because it's a department that their police created.
They have a whole department
created for that. You paid and you'll be taking care of.
Updates on this story, by the way. Now the military headquarters, the Nigerian headquarters, the Nigerian Army headquarters actually said that the kidnapping of these students last week was to use soft targets as human shields.
Definitely.
And to prevent further air and land offensive against them. Right? Now, this was said by the Director of Defense and Media Operations, and that's Major General Edward Buba. He made this known today. Right, and he pointed out that there has been a lot of pressure that they've been putting on these kidnappers and bandits that are in hiding. So they're practically trying to use these kids and their teachers as human shields. Let me quickly quote him, and then we'll go on with comments. He said, "We have depleted their ranks, neutralized many of their commanders and foot soldiers. The terrorists exhibited gross cowardice by going after children." And in my head, I'm like, you really think that terrorists care about cowardice or bravery? We have taken their commanders out. We recently acquired new air platforms to further decimate them. They know we mean business. It is to protect themselves that they went after these students. But we will not rest until all the kidnapped victims are rescued. Now, Buba went on to say, as in every war, there are complexities, and ours is no exception. Recently, cases of citizens being abducted in the northeast, northwest, and north central theaters of operations were recorded. These citizens were abducted by a brutal and blood-tasty group that should only be addressed as terrorists and not bandits. I repeat, terrorists and not bandit. Some people are of the opinion that they are just using this to chase clout. It's like, oh, now you've seen that they've done this, instead of admitting that there is a leak, there is a hole. And kidnapping is becoming a thing more than banditry. You're trying to say, oh, it's because of the amount of pressure that you've put on them that they are becoming kidnappers.
No, the issue is they are terrorists from the beginning. Government have designated them to be terrorists. It is we in the media and other space that are still calling them bandits. They are not bandits. Even the law that and the Terrorist Act has already established that they are terrorists. If you remember how they transform from the Boko Haram members from insurgents Boko Haram members to bandits, then later they went back to terrorism, and their act particularly is now what? Terrorists. It's not just bandits as we normally put them in papers or the way we pronounce them. But for the army to also let us understand that what they are doing is a good one, but there are strategic ways to get this human shade cover and still get the target. They can do it. I don't know whether I get it.
My question is why we had to get to a point where, innocent civilians are being used as human shields in this war before, they're being neutralized. If we want to fight this, I believe that it is not, I believe that the Nigerian army is not incapable of actually taking care of this. I mean, this is the same Nigerian army this is the same army that we export to neighboring African countries to help them fight their wars. And you're trying to tell me that for decades we've not been able to tackle this issue amongst ourselves? These are people that came into our borders.
It's because of the interest that is playing out. How the interest has been dealt with. What I mean by the interest, I mean the stakeholders within this environment have been dealt with. People who doesn't want this thing to go away because of the entrepreneurship or in conflict interest that comes in. It have been dealt with. And with this one that is coming up, we just hope that they have the act to deal with them, particularly this Kaduna kidnapping of school children, will be done with once and for all, and that will be an end to it.
Well, I do hope that kidnapping generally is dealt with, not just the Kaduna situation. I hope that it's all of it. Let's take our final story before we call it a wrap on the show.